Hi grade 7s, welcome to your Wednesday math lesson. So last time we were talking a little bit about word problems and how they can be represented as fractions. So for example, we had problems that could be like John has 15 stickers and he gives 5 of them away to his friends. Try to draw a fraction that represents how many he gave away. So if he had something like 15 stickers, so 15, and he gave 5 of them away, how many stickers did he give away? Well, he gave 5 away, so that would be the top number. He gave 5 away out of 15 because that was the total amount of stickers that he had. So our fraction is 5/12. So a big part of it was trying to read the problems and look at what it was asking for. If the question asked how many stickers does he have left, in that case I'd have to do 15 minus 5 because that would tell me how many stickers he had left over after he gave 5 of them away, which gives me 10. Sorry, I just realized I put 12 there. It's supposed to be 15. But, so let's say he gave 5 away. We're trying to figure out how many he has left. So 15 minus 5 that he gave away, he has 10 stickers left. Out of how many stickers did he have in total? He had 15 stickers in total. So if I were to represent that fraction, it would be represented as 10 of 15. So 10 stickers out of 15 total stickers that he has, or that he had. So that was our review for our word problems. Today I want to jump into how we looking at mixed number fractions, as well as how to order fractions from least to greatest. We did a little bit of comparing fractions before, looking at which fraction was bigger or less than the other. This is similar, except instead of only having 2 fractions that you're trying to figure out which one's bigger, you're going to be given 3 or 4 of them, and you're trying to order them in order from least to greatest. But firstly, I want to work on looking at mixed fractions. So a mixed fraction is when you have more than just part of a whole. So if I gave you the fraction 1/3, 1/3 is just part of a whole. Because let's say a recipe calls for 1/3 of a cup of milk. It's just 1/3 of that full cup of milk. So it's not a full amount, it's part of a whole. And that's why when we represent it on circles or with the strips with rectangles, you're coloring in how much part of that whole is. This would be the whole amount, and that's only part of it. But if you have something like a mixed fraction, I'm going to use the example of baking because it's the easiest way for most of you guys to visualize it, is let's say a recipe calls for 1.5 cups of flour. So if you were to look at a recipe page, it usually looks like this: 1 and 1/2 cups of flour. Another way you can represent 1.5 cups is with a giant 1 and a 1/2 with the top number over top of that bottom number. So this represents 1 whole cup, and this represents a 1/2 cup. So unless you have measures that work for 1.5 cups, let's say you're just using the little measuring cups that just have the amounts written on them, I would need a 1 whole cup measure, so like this, and I need a smaller 1/2 cup measure, like this, and that would give me the full amount of flour I need for my recipe. So the way we represent it is with that big whole number and then the fraction right beside it. So let's look at another fraction or another example. We are going to look at, let's say a recipe calls for 1.5 tablespoons. or maybe let's think of something better. 1 1/3 cups. 1 1/3 cups of milk, let's say. So it would look like this in the recipe book. 1 1/3 cups of milk. If I were to represent that properly as a whole or as a mixed fraction, it would have a big 1 and a 1/3 right beside it. This is the same thing as this. This is just a different way of writing it out. But normally when we write it out in math, we look at it this way because it's easier to see which is the whole number because it's giant versus the fraction, which is smaller. So what this means is if you have a mixed number like this, it is bigger or greater than, so it has the mouth open toward it, than a fraction that's something like this. Because this has a whole number in it, whereas this one does not. This is just part of a whole. This is a whole plus a little bit. So if I were to represent this using our pizza slices, it would look like this. So 1, 2, and 3, but it would actually have 2 pizzas. Because let's say I ordered 1 1/3 pizzas, or I ate 1 1/3 pizzas. That means I ate one whole pizza plus a third of another pizza. Whereas this one is only the one pizza that's split up into 7 slices. Let's see if I can do this. 5, 6, 7. And I ate 4 slices of this one. So you can see there's a lot more pizza with this fraction than it is with the other one. So a mixed number will always be greater than a regular fraction that has a smaller top number than a bottom number. Where it gets tricky is if you have a fraction that has a bigger top number than the bottom number. So if this top number is bigger than the bottom number, this will be greater than a fraction. So let's say 5/3 and 5/6. Well, the 5/6 uses bigger numbers. However, this top number is bigger than this bottom number. That means this fraction's actually bigger, because if I were to draw this out with pizza slices or with fraction strips, 5 pieces of 3. So it means, I'm going to draw this out with rectangles this time. It means 1, 2, 3 of a strip plus a second strip with 4 and 5 colored in. So even though there are 6 strips here, we need to have them 5 colored in because it's a whole, it's bigger than the 3 at the bottom. It means it's a whole number plus a little bit left over. This is just a different way of showing this fraction here. But today, I just want to focus on the mixed numbers being greater than a regular fraction, not so much improper. We will talk more about impropers on Friday. But for now, we're talking about this. So mixed fraction is a big whole number plus a little bit left over. Okay? Now we're going to talk a little bit about ordering fractions from least to greatest. So I'm going to do regular fractions first, and then we're going to do a little bit of those mixed fractions as well. So ordering fractions from least to greatest. Let's do, if I give you 3 fractions, 4/7, 5/8, and 3/4. I need to put these 3 fractions in order from least to greatest. So we're going to put the least on the left side here. So this will be least. This will be greatest right here on the right side. How can I order these 3 fractions from least to greatest? Easiest way to do it is we have 1, 2, 3 fractions. We're going to draw out our fraction strips. So I have 1 fraction strip, 2 fraction strips, and 3 fraction strips. They're all the same size. So you see how they're all the same length. This first fraction here is 4/7. So I'm going to split this first one here. It's going to represent 4/7 on a strip. So I've just split up into 7 equal pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's even, as I can kind of get them right now. Okay. So I'm coloring 4 of these slices. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have 5/8. So let's do this one, 5/8. I need to split this up into 8 equal slices here. So I have 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I have 8 equal slices. Now I color in 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, see, this is why it's important to make them equal, because it looks like this one is the same size. In actuality, it's a little bit smaller. It'd probably only be going up to about here. So I'm just going to erase that little part here. This is why using fraction strips is also a really great tool. I will send them along into your assignments. You can use them to help you because you can actually print them off, cut them out, and then line them up on a table in front of you, so it's really easy to see how they work. Okay, so now I need my last fraction, which is 3/4. So I'm going to just put 3/4 over here, and I'm going to split this strip up into 4 equal pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I color in 3 of them. 1, 2, 3, 3. Which fraction is the smallest, which is the least? It is 4/7. 4/7 is the least. In the middle, 5/8 is just a little bit bigger. So 5/8 would go in the middle. Actually, I'm just going to put these down here so it's a little easier to see. So I have 4/7 at the bottom. 5/8 is in the middle. And then the greatest fraction we have, or the biggest one we have, is 3/4. So what it means when it's the greatest, it means it's closest to being 1 whole fraction. Okay, because you want as much as that whole fraction as possible. So let's say I had a baggie of 12 M&Ms. I want as much of those M&Ms as I can get. So the biggest fraction of those M&Ms I can get. Okay, so that's ordering regular fractions from least to greatest. So easiest way is just putting it into the fraction strips and comparing them one or another. You can either draw them if you find that drawing them works for you, so long as you can get those slices as equal as possible. Or you can print out the fraction strips that I'm going to send your way, and you can actually cut them out and place them on the table to visually see which one is bigger. Okay? So that's that. What if you are dealing with a mixed number? So mixed number is actually going to be very similar, except I'm going to do some easier fractions to make it easier because we're just learning about mixed numbers here. So I'm going to give you 3 mixed numbers and we're going to order them together. So let's do 1, 1 and 1/4, 2 wholes and 1/3, and 1 and 5/6. So I need to put these from least to greatest, so I'm just going to put my thing right here. So this is least, this is greatest. How do I figure out which one is which? I can draw my strips again. However, this time I'm dealing with mixed numbers. So it means they all have a whole number plus a fraction left over. So this is going to be a little bit easier to see. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to stack them again. So I have 1 1/4, 2 1/3, and 1 5/6. So here's my strips, but I'm going to split this strip up. This represents one whole strip, and this will be the fraction over here. So this will be the whole strip, and this will be the fraction over here. I'll show you how we're going to split them up in a second. This one has a 2, so that means this is 2 wholes. So I have 2 wholes plus the fraction left over. So this would be 2 wholes. That's where the 2 comes from, because it's, let's say a recipe calls for 2 1/3 cups of flour. I need to use 2 of those big spoons of flour plus the 1 smaller spoon for 1/3. Okay, so that's the 2 big spoons plus the smaller spoon over here that we represent in our strips. And then this one is 1 5/6, so I need 1 whole fraction strip. And this one right here will be the 5/6. So the first fraction we have is 1 1/4. So these strips need to be split up into 4 equal spots. So 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. So I have 2 rectangles that are split up into 4 equal sized portions. If I have a whole number, that's my first strip. A whole number means all of these are colored in. So all 4 are going to be colored in. So that represents my 1 in this fraction. The 1/4 is going to be represented over here. So 1/4 means I colored 1 of the 4 spots. So this is how I represent this fraction in strips. I have a whole plus the 1/4 left over. Now for the 2. See how it's a 3 right here? I have to split each strip into 3 equal portions. Okay, so 1 2 3 equal portions for each strip. Excuse me. Now you see how we have a 2? That 2 is going to be represented here and here because I need 2 full strips to represent that 2. And all of them, all these portions of these 2 strips are going to be colored in. So this is where the 2 holes come in. So that's where the 2 cups are of 2 1/3 cups of flour. So 2 full cups of flour plus 1/3 of a cup of flour, which means 1 of the 3 is going to be colored in right here. So that's everything. 2 full cups of flour plus 1/3 of a cup of flour. Okay? And my last one is 1 whole and 5/6. So this 1 whole is going to be represented here. This strip is a whole. So I split up into 6 equal spots because my number right here is a 6. So when you have your mixed number, the number here at the bottom of the fraction is the one that you know, that tells you how many pieces that the fraction strip needs to be split up into, or how many slices of the pizza there need to be. So 1 whole and 5/6. So I split it up into 6 equal spots. And 6 equal spots. 1 2 3 4 5 6. The first part is I color in 1 whole. So it means I color in all of these spots here. So 1 2 3 4 5 6. That's my whole number. Now my fraction is going to be over here. So I color in 5 of them. 1 2 3 4 5. 5 because I had 5 over 6, so I have to color in 5 of these 6. Okay? So that's how I can represent my mixed fractions. Now, which one is the least and which one is the greatest? Well, just by visually looking, I can see that this one is the least. And by looking, I can see that this one is the greatest because this has 2 full strips. So when you start getting used to looking at fractions, especially mixed number fractions, if you see that it has the bigger whole number, so sometimes you'll see whole numbers that are like 5 and 1/7, and the other ones are like 2 and 1/3. Of course, the 5 is gonna be bigger because that's like 5 full cups of flour plus 1/7 of a cup, and then the other one is 3 full cups of flour and 1/3 of a cup. So obviously 5 full cups of flour is much, much bigger than 2 full cups of flour. So this is my greatest one. And then this is my middle. So from least to greatest, let's write it out. Least is 1 and 1/4. In the middle is 1 and 5/6. And my greatest is 2 and 1/3. And that's how I can order my fractions from least to greatest if they're mixed numbers. So for your homework for this lesson is going to be a couple questions on regular fractions and ordering those from least to greatest, and then a couple with mixed numbers thrown in there. And they're gonna be really nice, obvious ones, kind of like these ones where one is obviously gonna be much bigger than the other. Okay, so that's your homework for today. I hope you guys are doing really well. I've been looking at your homework and looking at what you've been submitting, and it looks like you've been doing awesome. So that's really great to see. And if you guys need any help, of course, email me, let me know. Like I've been doing for a lot of people is I've been making quick videos and things like that if they're confused and sending them their way. So that's 100% something I can do. And otherwise, I hope you guys are doing really well and you're maintaining your social distancing, but you're also being able to do some fun things for yourself, whether it's like playing video games or taking up a new hobby. But make sure that you're taking care of yourselves during this time, especially when it's so stressful. All right. Thank you guys. I will see you on Friday.